You learn to confuse inconsistency with love, not because you are broken or naive or foolish, but because at some point in your life, inconsistency became the foundation of how you learned to receive affection. Somewhere in your past, someone taught you that love appears and disappears without warning, that warmth is conditional, that attention is unpredictable, that closeness is something you must earn, and that being chosen requires constant emotional performance. So when you grew up and met someone who was hot and cold, who offered tenderness one moment and silence the next, who pulled you close and then pushed you away, your nervous system did not recognize this as emotional danger. It recognized it as home. Because when the first people who were supposed to love you showed up inconsistently, your body wired that instability into your understanding of connection. You learned that love is something you chase, something you wait for, something that comes in waves rather than in steady presence. And now, when someone gives you mixed signals, when their messages fluctuate, when they offer you glimpses of intimacy only to retreat the next day, your heart doesn't recoil. It leans in. It tries harder. It confuses unpredictability with depth, inconsistency with chemistry, anxiety with longing, and emotional survival with love. And the most heartbreaking part is that you don't chase this person because you love them deeply. You chase them because their inconsistency matches your earliest emotional blueprint. It matches the rhythm of the love you had to earn. So you try to earn it again. Not consciously, not intentionally, but reflexively, automatically, emotionally. You accept their inconsistency because your nervous system is conditioned to believe that instability is normal, that uncertainty is passion, that longing means intimacy, and that love is something you fight for rather than something that meets you halfway. And when their behavior wounds you, instead of questioning their capacity to love, you question your own worth. You think, maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe I'm too emotional. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe if I were more patient, they would stay. Maybe if I loved them harder, they would be consistent. But none of this is true. Their inconsistency has nothing to do with your value. It has everything to do with their emotional limits. Some people are inconsistent because they fear closeness. Some because they lack emotional maturity. Some because they crave validation but reject vulnerability. Some because they enjoy being desired but panic when expectations arise. And some because they simply do not have the capacity to love in a stable, healthy way. Their inconsistency is their pattern, not your fault. But when you are someone who grew up without consistent love, you internalize inconsistency as a challenge you're meant to win. You think that if you can just hold on long enough, they will finally choose you fully. And that belief keeps you stuck in emotional cycles where you're constantly giving, hoping, explaining, and waiting for someone who only ever shows up halfway. Every small gesture of warmth feels enormous because you are starving for consistency. Every breadcrumb feels like a feast because you've learned to survive on emotional scraps. Every temporary moment of closeness feels profound because the absence that surrounds it is so painful. You think the emotional high you feel when they return means you're deeply connected. But what you're experiencing is the intoxicating relief that comes after deprivation. It is not love. It is the nervous system releasing tension after being stretched too thin. And you deserve so much more than a connection that triggers your survival mode. Real love is not inconsistent. Real love does not make you question whether you matter. Real love does not withhold affection as a way of staying in control. Real love does not come and go based on convenience. Real love does not ignite your anxiety more than your peace. People who care for you do not confuse you. They do not leave you guessing. They do not offer intimacy only to retract it when you get too close. They do not use silence to regulate their fear of vulnerability. And they do not expect you to carry the entire emotional weight of the connection. When someone is truly capable of loving you, their presence feels reliable. Their affection feels steady. Their communication feels safe. Their consistency feels like honesty, not obligation. Their love does not spike your adrenaline. It strengthens your sense of self. But when you grew up with inconsistent love, the calmness of stability can feel unfamiliar and even uncomfortable. You may find yourself drawn to people who activate your wounds instead of people who honor your heart. You may reject healthy partners because their steadiness feels strange, or because you don't feel the chaotic intensity you've mistaken for passion. But passion built on anxiety is not love. The spark you feel with inconsistent people is the spark of your nervous system trying to resolve unfinished emotional business from your past. It is a trauma bond, not a soulmate connection. And the moment you understand this, something inside you begins to shift. Instead of blaming yourself when someone withdraws, you begin to see their inconsistency as a reflection of their limitations, not a measurement of your worth. Instead of trying to decode their behavior, you step back and ask, does this feel safe? Does this feel reciprocal? Does this relationship support the version of me I am becoming? Instead of accepting the emotional crumbs they offer, you begin to expect real nourishment. Instead of romanticizing their mixed signals, you begin to see them as emotional instability. Instead of working overtime to interpret their behavior, you begin to value clarity. And instead of holding on to someone who repeatedly breaks connection, you begin to understand that the right person doesn't need to be chased. They move toward you. They show up. They choose you without hesitation. You deserve a love that stays. A love that doesn't punish you for wanting consistency. A love that doesn't require you to silence your needs to avoid scaring someone away. A love that doesn't disappear when you become vulnerable. A love that doesn't make you feel like the only person responsible for keeping the connection alive. A love that feels like emotional safety, not emotional gambling. The moment you stop confusing inconsistency with love, your entire life changes. You stop mistaking chaos for passion. You stop mistaking anxiety for attraction. You stop mistaking breadcrumbs for devotion. You stop confusing intensity with compatibility. You stop thinking inconsistency is romantic. You stop making excuses for people who do not show up for you. And slowly, beautifully, you begin to choose people who choose you. People whose actions match their words. People who do not make you earn their affection. People who do not disappear when things get real. People who can tolerate intimacy without running from it. People whose love feels like a warm, steady flame, not a wildfire that burns bright and then disappears into smoke. And one day, when you finally experience consistent love, you will look back at every inconsistent person you once clung to and wonder how you ever mistook their chaos for something meaningful. You will see clearly that love is not supposed to feel like tension. It is supposed to feel like truth. You will understand that love is not supposed to make you question your worth. It is supposed to reflect it back to you. You will realize you were never asking for too much. You were only asking the wrong person. And you will give your heart permission to want what it always deserved: stability, safety, reciprocity, presence, and peace. You are not confusing inconsistency with love because you are broken. You are doing it because no one taught you that love could feel calm. But now you know. And healing begins the moment you choose consistency over chaos, clarity over confusion, and real love over emotional survival. Welcome to Attachment Alchemy Lab. You're safe here.